Meet Rodrigo Sanchez and Gabriela Quintero, two Mexicans that one day made a decision that changed their lives forever.
Guitar duo from Mexico.
They can be considered the dynamic duo of acoustic guitar.
Our next guests are an acclaimed guitar duo from Mexico City.
In the metal community, people come, they want to see the riffs.
Anyway, look, my next guest met in Mexico City, but now they live in Dublin, so that's good.
We also have an extraordinary group that originates from Mexico City, Rodrigo and Gabriela.
Well, for starters, just two people can play such an immense, huge sounding form of music. But I was fascinated with their fairy tale story, because this is like a fairy tale.
They're wonderful performers. They're both extraordinary musicians.
It's very hard to do a guitar technique that is just not being done.
Porque la gente necesita esto, necesita que les des emociones.
I actually wanted to be a drummer before a guitarist.
And we just did maybe 4 years trying to become famous.
At some point, I and myself, we both were sick of trying to make it.
We said, this is it, let's go. Where, we don't know.
When we decided to go to Europe, we gave ourselves 2 rules. The first one was not to do anything else but playing music. And the second one, and very important, was not to go back. One day, we were walking in Grafton Street, and we saw this guy playing the guitar, busking.
So for us, it was that's it. That's what we need to do. There's no other option.
I was crawling through a festival way.
Probably the day I moved back, I probably walked on Grafton Street and I couldn't get through. There was a crowd, and then next minute, there's like 2 exotic looking people, 2 Mexicans there, and they really could rock, like.
I'm John Morrison, and I have with me the director of and the cinematographer for the new film, for those who are about to rock, the Rodrigo y Gabriela story. And we're interviewing these 2 young men. I'm saying young men because you're a lot younger than I am.
Thanks for that.
At the Mill Valley Film Festival, which is well before, or hopefully not too far before, their theatrical release worldwide, right?
Yes.
And so you'll probably be seeing this more around the theatrical release. And welcome, Alejandro Franco.
Yes.
And Ruben Marquez.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thanks a lot for having us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Now, I have to say that one of the first times that I saw your film, I was just blown away, because I, being an older guy, I had no idea about Rodrigo y Gabriela. And I was just completely blown away, because it's my kind of music, really. So, and you did a very, very unique thing. You created a music documentary that doesn't look like a music documentary.
Well, I guess we made it, because that was the main idea when we started to working on the project. I'm so glad that you said the words "blown away," because for me, when I get to know the story, I use exactly the same words. I think it's a unique story, and when people find out about the story and when they listen for the first time to Rodrigo y Gabriela's music, they always use that words. There's the manager of Rodrigo y Gabriela that is based in Ireland, and his words actually in the documentary are that he got blown away the first time that he saw them live. So I think in this particular case with you, we made it.
Well, I've been accused of loving any music that isn't in English, because I don't know, I like world music, and but this, they're pretty much no
lyrics.
Lyrics, yeah.
Yes.
So it's only music, and it's a very unique approach. So, But I really want to talk a lot about, I mean, we'll talk a little bit about Rodrigo y Gabriela, because we can't, avoid it, obviously, because the film is about them. But
more shows.
but we could use a few more shows, right? Yeah. But I would like to talk about your thought processes and the way that you planned out the film.
Well, to be honest, we didn't plan it a lot. Or at the beginning.
Well, at the end.
At the end, we planned a lot, but at the beginning, I didn't have any clue of what we were doing at that time. I invited Ruben, I think a year later when we started the project, and I was like, Ruben, I have this material, I have these possibilities of the story, and I will use your help on this. And Ruben started to work a lot in the compilation process with the material that I already did with another team, also the footage from Rodrigo and Gabriela, and so also a lot of footage that Ruben found that we didn't have an idea that footage existed. So it was, for me, it was like that.
Yeah, I mean, having two roles in this film was very interesting because for one moment I was the cinematographer that I considered only the image. I found the things that I wanted to do. I told Alejandro the kind of cameras, the kind of lenses that I wanted to use. But now in the other moment when I was the editor, it was very helpful because I knew all the footage that I have been shooting. And also it was a mission, and he knows more. It was a mission of being like a police detective, because even though you do a documentary and the band or the character gives you all the outlines and all the story that they want to tell you, you start to dig into the footage, and you find things that they didn't tell you, So
that you don't even want to know.
Yeah.
Well, but sometimes you need to know for the continuity of the story,
of course,
right?
Of course. Yeah. No, I'm joking. The thing is that we didn't realize the magnitude of the story until we start digging, as Ruben just said, because when you have these amazing musicians in front of a camera, it's very difficult to get the personal stuff out, like you're trying to conduct an interview and you're trying to dig a little bit to complete the story, but sometimes it's difficult. And I have always been very respectful with any musician in my work as a music journalist, but also in this case with Rodrigo y Gabriela, we were developing at the same time a really nice friendship relation. So for me, it was like a little bit, doing interviews and trying to investigate or to know more things. And on the other hand, get to know the real people. I mean, the girl and the boy behind those amazing guitars and those amazing skills. And it was an amazing process. And we started to discover things like, for example, when they used to play in a metal band in Mexico City, Ruben found out a whole and complete music video that they shoot in the south of the city. So for
they didn't share.
They didn't share. They didn't told us anything. Like, we have this video. This is like, I don't know, the beta or the VHS tape. Here you are. Anything. So we found out, and then we were like unlocking levels. Like they were like, about the video. That's nice. Because I don't know, they are very private with their stuff, and they're not thinking, like sometimes someone will be doing a documentary about me, so I will keep this in order to make it happen.
Now, you what was behind the decision of, and I'm hoping my memory is correct about the film. When you interview them, or when they're speaking to camera, they're never together.
No.
They're always alone.
Yes.
And so the only time you really see them together is either in the old footage or the new footage of them playing. So.
The first interview that I conducted to them was with both together, in a train from Belgium to France.
Oh, there's a little tiny bit of that.
A little
footage.
tiny
yeah,
bit.
Yeah.
When he's joking about the yin and the yang.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, it's a tiny little moment of that original interview, because that was the original interview. And we realized after that put them together won't work as well as putting them separately. So we decided to do that because we understood that if Rodrigo tells the story and Gabi tells the story, he will remember different things than Gabi, and Gabi will remember different things than Rodrigo. So when we put the piece together, you have a complete story and not only one side. So for us, it was like a huge decision to tape them, to have them, to film them separately. And it was tough, but I think it was right.
And I don't know if that's unique, but it's certainly pretty close to unique. I mean, I saw the film with a good friend of mine, and she was just saying, they're not in the same room together. You know? And I said, well, just let it roll, you know. But it was kind of disturbing her because it wasn't normal,
I think you have two disturbing things that we already know and we already knew before. I mean, the movie was premiered for the first time. It's that, and it's also the thing that it's not a regular rockumentary. You know, like you have a piece of interview and then a song, and then a piece of interview and then a song. I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but this is not that kind of movie.
Right.
It's a music movie, a beautiful story between two people that are chasing a dream, but it's not the classic format of a music documentary.
Right. Well, almost, because, I mean, am I wrong that the music might have taken away from the story?
Yeah, maybe. But the one thing that's unique also is that from around the minute 10, around more or less, when Rodrigo says they started their first band, Caslo, there's not a single moment that you don't hear music. And all of the music is from them.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting.
That is true. Yeah.
Yeah, but you are not seeing them like, playing all the time.
Yeah.
It happens, but it happens at the right time for us.
Well, and I often wonder, you know, if you had done that, would the audience have been completely exhausted? Because I mean, just watching them play, you know, if you put yourself in the place, wow.
You know, with some music documentaries, I repeat, as a music journalist, and Ruben, I think a lot more than me, we always are seeing, you know, like music documentaries, because that's very important for what we do. And I sometimes get too tired, you know, like, wow, this is like 2 hours and a half, and I'm seeing a lot of songs. And if I don't really, really, really love a specific band, I get tired. It's like, oh, I want to know the story. And this is a very precise story, and we don't want any distractors. I made a rule for Ruben and for me and for all the team, but specifically for Ruben and me. You know, like the editor is always like talking with the director, and they're taking decisions, and sometimes the director is saying something that the editor is like very attached to. Like, you have to drop it. We don't need this part of the interviews. And Ruben was like, no. So I made a rule that it was like, does this thing supports the story or not? If not, or a little, let's cut it off. If a little bit more than so-so, let's put it in. So we were like trying to work and make it happen under those premises.
So what did he make you cut out that you didn't want to cut out?
Oh, there was a huge fight, I remember. We started to interview a lot of the families, because when I got into the project, he had this cut, but it was kind of long. It didn't have like a big structure. He had good moments that stayed until the last cut, but he never interviewed the families or something in the past or the background of them. So editorially, he decided also, and we both agreed that we need to interview the families. And we had these beautiful moments with the mothers, you know, both of them, that for me complemented a lot the story. And days and days of shaping them up and, you know, putting them together, anecdotes, you know, everything. And once I had it all together and months passed and yeah, we were okay. But I know this guy, and once he says, "Oh, I'm not sure," it's over, man. So there was a huge fight there. I said, no, they have to be there. They complement the story. They give something that you make the characters lovable. And he said, yes, but no, they don't work. And at the end, that's something that now I understand from that experience, is that sometimes, and we realized it here first, that sometimes you do a lot of interviews in a documentary that won't get there or won't get in the final cut, but they serve a purpose of understanding more of the characters. And
for you as
a viewer,
exactly.
Filmmaker.
As a filmmaker,
I mean,
it's like things that you are understanding because you have the information, but those things not necessarily will end at the screen. It's difficult, it's painful because you did a lot of work, and of course you have you even have, you know, like the permissions and the kind of promise like you're gonna be in the movie, and at the end it's like you are not in the movie, but it's because I didn't feel that those characters or specific interviews were helping to develop the story, the main story that I wanted to tell.
Was it a question of tone also, or?
I think were some kind of distractors of the main story, you know, and I felt it also sometimes very local references in terms of the kind of relation that, for example, we Mexicans have with our family. And I think this is a universal story. I think this could happen anywhere, everywhere. So that's why also we decided like, no, this is not helping too much to the main story. That is two people that take a decision, you know, like to do what they love the most, and that's it. And of course the families matter, but that's your own decision, and you have to live with that. I mean, it doesn't matter your friends or your family or your country or your government or your context around.
And you mentioned the Mexican family. You know, I mean, how much do you think that this is a universal documentary, and how much do you think is it about two Mexicans?
Well, I think it's an universal story, but you cannot deny the Mexican thing because I think it's part of their story.
Yeah.
I mean, live and grow up in Mexico and have all the influences that we Mexicans have in music, I think it develops part of this story in particularly. For us, a lot of people in the world thinks that if you're in Mexico, you are only hearing mariachi or something like that.
Well, that's precisely why I'm asking the question,
And then you discover these guys that grew up with Metallica, Megadeth, Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, Testament. We are part of that kind of generations. I grew up with a lot of British music instead of Mexican music. So for me, it was also very important to say that, you know, like to make the context, like, okay, this didn't happen because spontaneity. It happened because you have a lot of music going around the world. Now I think it's more evident because of the social networks and the internet, etc. But at that time, it happened. It happened very slowly with another kind of formats, with some vinyls or cassettes or importers. Or my aunt went to California, bring me this album from AC/DC or something like that. But it happened, and you have a whole generation in Latin America influenced by different kind of music from everywhere. And rock and roll music and metal music and hard rock music is very important for Latin America.
Yeah. I guess my final question of both of you is your personal relationships with Rodrigo y Gabriela obviously run deeper. and certainly deeper after the film. Yeah, I mean, you were just beginning a relationship with him. I'm sure you were coming into it. Do you feel as though they're riding a wave that keeps getting higher? Do you feel that they're at their peak? Where do you think that they are?
I think they already decided also that they are not going to stop any soon. I think they are riding the wave to an upper level.
Yeah.
But
you did make a remark to me though that, or it was to the audience before, was that they don't necessarily have a plan. Yes.
Yes, they don't necessarily have a plan, but they have a decision. The decision from the first time was not to do anything but play the guitar and not go back to Mexico because of the wrong reasons. Because finally they're not angry with Mexico or something like that. So I think right now they already took the decision, from my point of view, and as well as we know them, to continue and to continue until see what happens, because they are growing up a lot of as an artist, and they're doing amazing things, different things. They're always searching for the new different thing, like in which way we can do our own music but present it in a different way, but we want to also have bigger places. Now I think they're gonna reach the arenas and maybe then the stadiums, They're going to have Wembley Arena in London on March. They just did the main stage from Glastonbury before Arcade Fire, and they're doing a hell of a tour all around the world. And I think the next step will be finally Latin America, because they are not well known in Mexico or Latin America. So I think the organic next step, maybe as a music journalist, not as a friend or anything else, I think that should be their next step. I don't know if they will pursue it, but I know they want it also, because it's weird. They didn't even speak English. They didn't even speak English when they went to Ireland.
No.
Well, I'm Irish, so I can say the Irish don't necessarily speak English either.
Exactly.
Only the English told them to speak English.
That's a local thing. What do you think?
Well, for me, as documentary filmmaker in the two roles that I had, for me the relationship was very different, because when you start to do a story about someone you don't know, there were some points, and I talked to him, it was like, I know more about him or her than most of my friends. I know more about their families, what did they do when they were 5, and I related a lot in that level, because for me, when I was a teenager, I also started to play the guitar, and the only songs that I knew how to play were the Metallica songs. So when I started to see this happen and develop in the documentary, it was fascinating to me. So I started to kind of force a little bit a relationship with them, because I said, this can't be fair. I mean, I know more about you than you could ever think, So yeah, I started to have a friendship and whatever, but always trying to keep distance, because if not, you won't be a documentary filmmaker,
Yeah.
He started editing the movie before he got to know them. So when he knew them the first time, he was so excited, like Meet the Kardashians or something like that, like a reality, oh, I know you, Gabriel.
A lot better than Meeting the Kardashians.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Way up on the scale.
But it's so strange, because, for example, it happened to me yesterday when we saw the documentary of Jacko of Robert Trujillo. Just in front of us was Shankar, and he appears in the movie. And I've been editing his interview for ages, and I see him, and I lock my eyes to him, and he knows that I know him, but he don't know why.
Why?
And I said, I know you. I know
you pretty well.
I know you pretty well, but I can't say hi. So it's a very interesting effect that happens when you're editing a movie, because when you're filming, when you're there in the set or doing the shots, you get to know the people, but when you don't, it's like, I know you. This is a very strange feeling.
Well, I think we both agree that editors are the saints of cinema, aren't they?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They are. I mean, and in a documentary, they put all the pieces together, and it's very, very difficult. Yeah. Once I thought, like, we will never make it. You know, like, this is tons of stuff. We don't have any clue of the main and final story. I don't know what we are going to do, and then the editor is like, yeah, we can do it. Yeah,
every time
everything.
we say, we will arrange it in post, an editor dies. Dude, no.
Well, thank you both very much, and thank you for carving out the time to talk to us.
Thanks a lot for having us. It was a real pleasure.
All right, and thank you all.